All right, so wanted to make another video going over the Hurrian deities again. Wanted to be a little more specific on them this time. And the Hurrian Pantheon, or Hurro-Hittite Pantheon, because the Hittites also adopted the Hurrian deities and synchronized them with a lot of their own, or syncretized, however you call it, say that word. Synchronized, syncretized. But I wanted to go over the Hurrian Pantheon again. So, just more specifically, so the Hurrian word for deity or god is Eni, and plural, so deities, gods, and the pantheon, Enna. So Enna is plural, a plural word for the deities, and for a single deity or just generic word deity, it's Eni. So Enna plural and Eni singular. Okay, and in the Hurrian language. So the Hurrians, of course, were ancient Near Eastern culture from the Bronze Age, and they lived close by to the Hittites. They lived close to the Canaanites and Mesopotamians. Their areas of influence. They had cities and towns. They had locations in Syria. They had some in northern Mesopotamia, I believe, like Nuzi, the city of Nuzi, I think was in Mesopotamia. Where was it? Like north of Assyria or something? And they Turkey as well, Anatolia, the Hurrians. And there were some Hurrians also in Lebanon as well. So those areas, Hurrians occupied certain areas in all of those places. I'm not sure if we know the actual the origin of the Hurrians. I don't think they're Indo-European people. I would say they're more closely. Are they closer to Semitic people, or are they originating as their own, as their own distinct subgroup? They have some similarities to the Amorites. They share some deities to the old Syrian and Amorite areas, cultures. So that's interesting. And of course, they share similarities with Mesopotamian culture as well. So, the high god of the Hurrian pantheon, the king of the gods, is Teshub, the storm god. He is the most important deity in the pantheon. So he would correspond to Tarhunt or Tarhuntus among the Luwians and the Hittites. Teshub would correspond also to Hadad of the Aramaeans, the Syria, ancient Aleppo. So Hadad or Adu or Hadu was worshipped among the Amorites. Teshub has a lot of similarities to that deity, to the old Hadu or Hadad, the Amorite storm deity. And his consort is Hebat, who I believe is like a mountain and fertility goddess. She is Teshub's consort, and together they have Sharuma as their divine son. And his consort is Alonzu, I believe is her name. So Shurima is like a mountain warrior deity, I would say. Maybe also a shepherd deity as well. And they also have Shurima and is Alonzu? They also have a daughter themselves. I forget what her name is though. So they have a divine family there. So Teshub, Hebat, Shurima, and Alonzu. I believe that's what she's called, Alonzu. And then they also have a daughter as well. So Teshub and Hebat have a divine granddaughter. I believe that's how it goes. So he's like the king of the gods, like very similar to Baal of Ugarit, the Canaanite storm deity, and very similar to Adu or Hadu of the Amorite, the Amorite storm deity, that came to be the Aramaean storm deity Hadad. So very similar there. Well, next in the hierarchy, the divine hierarchy, would be Kumarbi, who is so Teshub has two fathers in the mythology. There's Kumarbi, and then there's also the sky god, the old sky god, Anu, which means heaven, old Mesopotamian deity. But Kumarbi is a genuine Hurrian deity. He has his home, definitely has his home in Syria and Turkey. He's related to the god Dagon, and he's also seems to have some similarities with Enlil or Elil of Mesopotamia. Dagon and Hadad or Adadu, they were, some of the, they were Amorite deities. They're closely related to Teshub and Kumarbi. There's definitely some similarity. So there's definitely a lot of similarities there. So anyway, Kumarbi, the father of Teshub. We can get into the mythology in another video. I don't want to go over that too, because then I'll probably go all over the place. Basically there was a succession of deities that were king of the gods. The oldest, of course, was first, and then he was ousted by the younger deity. So a god named Alalu was the very first king of the gods, and then he was ousted by Anu, and then Anu was ousted by Kumarbi, and then Kumarbi was ousted by Teshub. So it's a kind of divine succession there. And in the mythology, Kumarbi and Teshub kind of vie for supremacy to be king of the gods. So that was very important. So he's, rules the rest of the pantheon, just like Marduk rules the Babylonian pantheon, or Ashur rules the Assyrian pantheon. Well, Teshub rules the Hurrian Pantheon of Deities. Just like Baal rules the Canaanite Pantheon of Deities. Well, along with the father god El. And Kumarbi's right there, right behind Teshub in the hierarchy. Next in the hierarchy, though, would be Teshub's sister, divine sister, Shaushka. She is the Hurrian Ishtar. And she's even outright called the Ishtar of Nineveh, Nineveh was an Assyrian city, and Ishtar of Nineveh has a cult there, of course. Very famous cult of Ishtar there. There's different Ishtars, depending, named after different areas. So Ishtar of Nineveh, she is equated with the Hurrian Shaushka, basically the Hurrian Ishtar. Now the Hurrians and Hittites actually had two Ishtar deities. There's we'll get to her in a second. The other one in a second. Very interesting. The other Ishtar deity does not figure very much in the mythology, unfortunately. So, but she does figure in other texts, other Hurro-Hittite texts. So we know that she had a popular cult there too, among them. So Shaushka, the sister of Teshub, she's associated with love, fertility, warfare, same attributes as the the more well-known Ishtar's goddesses. So, and she figures very prominently in Hurrian mythology too, along with obviously Teshub. The goddess Hebat does not, just very occasionally and very briefly. I wish that there was more on her in the mythology. But she was nonetheless, of course, a very important goddess. Very important. Next to Shaushka. So, yeah, she is the sister of Teshub, so obviously she would rank very high in importance. And the next deities, well, we have Ea, or Aya. That is, of course, the Hurrian version of the Mesopotamian god Ea, and the Sumerian deity Enki. He's the wise. He's like a wise god of wisdom and fresh waters as well, and a craftsman and expert in like magical arts. And he's basically like a deity in the Hurrian Pantheon. He's like a divine advisor. He's possesses great knowledge and wisdom. And okay. So let's see, where was I here? Had to pause it for a few minutes. So Ea, or Ea, in the Hurrian Pantheon, corresponds to Ea of Mesopotamia. So I don't know if it's pronounced Heya or Haya or Ea or Aya. Not exactly sure, but I say Ea. And he has so here's what's interesting here. So there's a bunch of primordial Hurrian deities too. And so he has a brother named with a compound name. Usually it's a compound name, Nara Nepshara. And I researched that deity extensively before. It's been a while though. But basically there's two deities, two Ea or Enki style deities in the Hurrian Pantheon. Of course, one is Aya or Ea, and the other is Nara Nepshara. Now, both of them figure. Ea figures more prominently, but Nara Nepshara is also in the mythology too, the surviving Hurrian mythology. Um, so okay, I thought that that his name. Um, I thought that Nara had something to do with like the waters, like water. So maybe he's associated with fresh water. It's possible. Like the Abzu in Mesopotamian mythology that Ea resides over. Um, at the same time, also, there's some evidence that he might rule over animals too, because uh, it's in the mythology where he like is told to like round up all the different animals of the earth and stuff. So it's really interesting there. So I need to research Nara Napshara again, and but just wanted to mention that too because he's uh, part of the pantheon too. So we got two Enki style deities here. So very interesting there. But we have two Ishtar style deities too. Pirinkir is the other name for the other Ishtar. Can't find her in the mythology, but she does figure in cultic texts. So she seems to be more of the warlike type of Ishtar, actually. Um, and she's definitely a celestial deity. Even both of them are winged, though. They both have wings. Um, it's possible they're just variants of each other. Um, can't say 100% on that, but in the procession of deities, they're treated as separate. Um, so I'm assuming they're separate goddesses, but Sharushka is higher in importance in the pantheon. So next, after Kimarbi and Ea, are I believe the moon god comes next, like the lunar deity, Kuzu or Kushu. Um, he's similar to the Mesopotamian god moon god Sin. Um, not too much to say about him. He's in the mythology, but just very occasional. I wish there was a little bit more on Kuzu, um, but he figures prominently in iconography. You'll also find him to be winged a lot of times too, because he's a celestial deity. Um, he may also be similar to the Canaanite deity Yarek or Yarihu, the moon deity there at Ugarit. Um, could be similar to him. They were obviously equated in Hurro-Ugaritic deity lists. Um, then, of course, after the moon god, we got the sun god, Shemegi. Um, Shemegi in Hurrian, also called Timegi. He's the sun deity, definitely similar to the Mesopotamian deity Shamash. Um, they have their differences, though, of course. He's associated with like truth and justice and righteousness, and he often takes the form of a shepherd. That is also how the Hittite and Luwian sun deities dress as well. A lot of times, the male version. There's a Hittite sun goddess too, sun goddess of Arena, I believe she's Hattic in origin, that deity. But the most of the sun deities there are male, and then there is the sun goddess of Arena as well, who was coincidentally equated with Hebat later on. So, but Hebat traditionally isn't a sun goddess, though. The traditional Hurrian sun deity is Shemegi. So, so the next one in line in the hierarchy would be Ashtabi, the warrior god, the warrior deity. And seems to be related somehow to Athtar of Ugarit. Athtar and Ashtabi go back a long ways. Go back to old Syrian like Ebla and Emar and those Amorite and those old Syrian and Amorite cities. And they're related somehow. Now, Athtar is related to the planet Venus in the morning. We don't know if Ashtabi is or not. But it's obviously possible. We don't know if Ashtabi could be possibly related to the planet Mars as well. That's possible. And then after Ashtabi comes, well, there's another warrior deity in the hierarchy, but his name is like partially cut off, so we don't know exactly who he is. He comes right after Ashtabi. It's possible that it's the god Nubidig that's figured prominently in Hurrian deity lists. Nubidig seems to also have a warlike character as well, and be related to the Canaanite god Resheph from Ugarit. They also have the same cultic city, Bibita or Pipita. So there's probably a relation there between the deity Nubidig and Resheph. That could be the deity in the divine procession at Yazili Kia in the Hittite land. The famous procession of Hurro-Hittite deities there on the rocks. But now after that it's I believe Pirinkir, the winged goddess Pirinkir. There's evidence that she's actually originates from ancient Elam, the Elamites from Iran, from that area. So maybe she's the Elamite Ishtar, and adopted by the Hittites and Hurrians. Would have to have been by way of the Hurrians into the Hittite pantheon. Yeah, I can't find her in the mythology though. Okay, so after that, the hierarchy gets a little hazy. The lesser known deities, we can go to the gods have their own side and the goddesses have their other side. So go over that. But Shawushka and Pirinkir are on the gods' side of the procession. So that just shows their importance there. On the goddesses' side, of course, you have... Oh, I forgot to mention Teshub's brother, Tezmisu. He stands next to Teshub in the procession. He's his divine, like, vizier, attendant, a deity. All the deities... Every single important deity has their own like messenger style deity. Kamarbi has one, and Teshub has his brother Tezmisu. Hebat has the female god, the goddesses usually have female messengers and the gods male messengers. Not always, but usually. Um, so let's go. Well, okay. Before I go to the goddesses side, we'll talk about some more deities, some more gods. So Karhua is the patron god of Carchemish, along with the goddess Kubaba. He's usually called the llama god in Hurro Hittite texts. He's the llama god in Hurrian mythology. He's an old Syrian deity. He's got a warlike character. So basically another warrior deity. He actually fights Teshub though in the mythology, whereas like the war god Ashtabi is Teshub's ally, and aids in Teshub's battles. So, and Karhua was a temporary king of the gods for a while, but of course Teshub regained the the kingship. So, then we have okay. Then we have the sea god Kiashi. So he's an ally of Kumarbi's in the mythology. So, but he figures prominently there in some stories. So the sea god, the Hurrians had their own sea god. The Hittites called him Aruna. They had their own sea deity. But for the Hurrians, it's Kiashi. And probably similar to the Canaanite god Yam, the Ugaritic god Yam or Yam. I think you pronounce it Yam, right? So okay, there's the sea god Kiashi. There's like divine rivers, both male and female deities. Like for the Tigris and the Euphrates and all that. I believe Aranzaha is maybe the Tigris River. And there's like the Huber River. I think there's a goddess called Huberitu or something. That might be her name. Oh, okay. So, I guess we'll start with the goddesses side now too. There's a couple other deities in the procession and there's like the primordial deities. I did mention Alalu and Anu, the primordial father deities. There's also Elil from the old Mesopotamian high god. He is mostly an ally to Kumarbi, but he also kind of sides with Ea and questions if Kumarbi is a rightful king of the gods or not, or should be king of the gods or not. So maybe Elil doesn't necessarily take sides. Maybe he's a neutral character. I believe. So, of course, he's one of the primordial elder father deities. And yeah, Kumarbi and Elil are treated separately in the mythology. They're not the same deity. So I think, okay, now we'll go to the goddesses side here. Hebat, of course, and Alonzu. And I think the granddaughter is called Kunzi Sally. I think. I could be wrong on that with that name. Might be Kunzi Sally. or Kunzi Sali. Um, okay. Now, Alani, the goddess Alani, is the goddess of the underworld. She's the goddess who looks after, the spirits of the dead, the ghosts of the dead, the kings and everybody. She's got her own palace, her own like sort of kingdom palace down there, in her realm, in her world. Um, um, she has more cultic importance in the Hurrian culture than Ereshkigal does. Her Mesopotamian equivalent is Ereshkigal. Um, and Alani she was worshipped. I don't know if Ereshkigal was actually worshipped. But Alani has more cultic importance in the religion than I believe. Like, somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. Can't get everything right or accurate, but she greatly resembles Ereshkigal, the Mesopotamian underworld goddess. So she rules the underworld. She rules the afterlife, the Hurrian afterlife, and Alani is accompanied by the goddess Ishara. Ishara's her her nature is a little shady. I've researched her a lot, but I can't quite pinpoint exactly what her main characteristics are. But so I'll just leave it at that for now. But Ashara seems to be associated with Alani, possibly as an attendant deity, but I don't think that. But it's not her messenger though. I don't think it's her messenger. It's not her messenger. But Ashara appears to be in the underworld as well for the Hurrians. But I think she's has a multifaceted nature to her. Because she's an old Syrian deity. So Ishara. Next we have, so I forget. So there's a goddess called Nabarbi, who may be a pastoral goddess. She might be a goddess of shepherds. I'll have to look further into that, but I forget. Now, I know her name sounds a little similar to Kumarbi, right? Nabarbi, Kumarbi. But Kumarbi's consort, I believe, is Shala, the grain goddess Shala, or Shalas, I believe, is what she's called in Hurrian, Shalas. Yeah. So Nabarbi, though, she is a consort to one of the deities. Was it... I just forget which one. Was it... I don't want to say names and be wrong. I forget. I don't... Was it Ashtabi? I'm not sure. But Nabarbi is in there as one of the goddesses. Of course, Kubaba. She's further down on the list. She's the consort of Karhua. And there's also a goddess named Adama. Adama may mean earth, or like the red earth. She seems to be associated with Kubaba. They're always together in Hurrian lists as well as Ugaritic lists, I believe. Like the Hurro-Ugaritic lists. I don't know what the association is, all about. I don't know if it's a compound deity or what. But another goddess I needed to mention was Eshi or Eshe. I think it's Eshi. It's ESE. It's, well, that's the Hurrian word for the earth, and the Eshi Eni, or the earth goddess, is in the Hurrian mythology, but I don't know who. I don't know if she's, who she equates to in the procession of the goddesses. I don't know if she goes by another name or she just goes by Eshi Eni. I'm not exactly sure, but in the Hurrian mythology, it's under a Hittite name, so it's not clear. But Eshi is the Hurrian word for earth, and Eni, of course, for deity. So it's it's possible it's the goddess Adama. I'm not sure, but she's there. It's an earth goddess, personification of the earth, just like Kiyashi, the personification of the sea. So there's an earth goddess in Hurrian mythology. Kind of reminds me of the Greek goddess Gaia, I guess, a little bit. So let's see. The goddess Nikal is also in the Hurrian pantheon. She's the consort to the moon god Kuzu. In Ugaritic mythology, she's like an orchard goddess, like goddess of growing fruits. She probably has the same nature in the Hurrian pantheon too. And there's also Houdina and Houdalura. Now they're fertility goddesses. They're two, of course. They're similar to like the Ugaritic Katharatu or the Katharat. So they are like fertility, and they're associated with like fertility and motherhood, childbirth, and fate. So they're important Hurrian goddesses. Houdina and Houdalura are the mother goddesses. And I think that might be about it. I'm probably forgetting a few more minor deities. Of course, you have Teshub's divine bowls, Sarian Hurry, which means night, like night and day, actually. Very interesting there. So like morning and evening. Trying to think if there's anybody else I forgot, but I think that's good for now. And yeah, that'll do it for the video for the Hurrian Pantheon. I just wanted to specifically go over the Hurrian Pantheon. And hope you all find the video interesting and knowledgeable, and I will be back with more related content soon. Oh, and let me know what you think. Let me know your interest in the Hurrian deities, the Hittite deities, and I will be back with more content soon.